Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Manuel. You rely on them in an emergency, but a statewide firefighter shortage is an ongoing problem. And as Big Fox's Matt Kleinden's found out, the pandemic is only making things worse.
Good evening, and fire departments across New York are dealing with a looming firefighter shortage as they work to fill open positions. One person with the Firemen's Association tells me this is a decades-old problem, only exacerbated by the pandemic.
Unfortunately, there's been a significant decline over the last several decades.
In an effort to attract new volunteers, the Thurston Fire Company is turning to social media to post open positions. It's a conundrum faced by fire departments across New York as the number of firefighters continues to decrease.
Back in the early 2000s, there were about 120,000 volunteer firefighters across New York. Today, we're somewhere in the 75,000 to 80,000 range.
John D'Alessandro of the Firemen's Association of New York says the pandemic has allowed current volunteers to respond to more calls. However, it's prevented departments from bringing on new recruits.
We've seen an increase in the number of existing firefighters responding during the daytime. But we also know that it has kept a lot of potentially new firefighters from joining the local department.
D'Alessandro encourages residents to tour their local fire company and adds there's more than one way to volunteer.
We will welcome everybody, and we will put whatever skills and time you have to very good use in serving your community.
Matt Kleinden's Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
A state judge has ordered former President Donald Trump and his children to testify for Attorney General Letitia James's investigation. The AG has been leading an investigation into the Trump Organization for alleged financial improprieties. The judge ordered relevant documents be turned over to the investigation after denying a bid by Trump's lawyers to avoid testimony. The former president, his son Don Jr., and daughter Ivanka have 3 weeks to meet for depositions. The New York Department of Corrections is gradually transferring inmates from the Southport Correctional Facility ahead of its March closing. The DOC says the process began shortly after the announcement of the prison's closing back in November. As of Wednesday, there were currently 57 inmates and 331 staff members in Southport. The prison is set to close its doors on March 10th. There are more signs the pandemic is moving into the endemic stage, with millions of Americans looking forward to getting back to their normal pre-COVID lives. Griff Jenkins has the latest from Washington.
Omicron is on the way out. There were just over 100,000 new cases reported in the U.S. on Thursday. We haven't seen numbers that low since early December, and states are adjusting their policies to reflect the progress. Washington State announcing it will drop all mask mandates, including for schools, starting next month. And in California, Governor Gavin Newsom unveiling America's first endemic virus policy, hoping to turn the page from the crisis mentality of the past 2 years.
People are desperate to get back to whatever semblance of normalcy they vaguely may remember from a few years prior. But they also need to know that we have their back.
But federal health officials say they're still waiting for the right time to revise masking guidelines on the national level, pointing out COVID hospitalizations are still at a high level and a new surge could push them to the breaking point.
Our emergency departments can't be so overwhelmed that patients with emergent issues have to wait in line.
More states are also removing mask mandates from schools, despite major staffing shortages in many areas. In New Mexico, hundreds of Army National Guard members are now serving as substitute teachers, with some schools reporting up to a third of their staff out on sick leave.
I was kind of nervous because, a man in a uniform, but it was cool.
You can't act Army with these kids. You can't speak the same way you would with another soldier.
And we're also seeing a big uptick in air travel as cases decline, prompting industry leaders to ask the feds to end COVID restrictions on planes. In Washington, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
The cleanup begins following another snowstorm in the Midwest. While in the Northeast, crews are working to restore power. Katie Byrne reports.
It's a little excessive. I didn't know that we were going to make it out of the house today.
People across the Midwest are digging out after heavy snow fell over the region. The precipitation tapered off Thursday evening, but strong winds could still send snow onto roadways, potentially causing dangerous travel conditions. Roughly half a foot of snow fell in northwest Indiana and Illinois, at times coming down at more than an inch an hour. Another round of snow and wind could impact these states through tonight.
throw some salt down. Hopefully it doesn't get covered too fast, and then I'll hit it with the snow blower just to kind of make it a little bit easier.
Parts of Kansas and Missouri also seeing ice and snow-covered roads, while heavy rain flooded streets in the St. Louis area, stranding some drivers.
Do not try to drive through standing water. Some people were yelling at that car to stop, and she, it wasn't a truck, and she got halfway through and just stuck, and it flooded her car and her engine.
In the Northeast, the warmer weather made the storm mainly a rain and wind event. The strong gusts knocked out power to more than 27,000 customers in Massachusetts early this morning.
Pretty much just getting the generator going, make sure that's all set.
With this one, we are bringing in crews from out of state to make sure that we have enough on hand to help with any of those restoration efforts.
The precipitation is expected to move offshore by tonight. The warmer weather comes before another winter storm that could start forming Tuesday over parts of the Mid-South. In Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, Katie Byrne, Fox Weather.
In his remarks today at the White House, President Biden says he is convinced Russia will invade Ukraine, but he's still hopeful diplomacy can prevail. Members of the administration are overseas meeting with their counterparts about the crisis. Madeline Rivera has more details from Washington.
Tensions between Russia and the West reaching a fever pitch Friday. After speaking with European leaders and NATO allies, President Biden warns the threat of Russia invading Ukraine remains very high.
We have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine in the coming week, in the coming days.
U.S. officials estimate as many as 190,000 Russian troops are gathered by the Ukrainian border. Some of those living in eastern Ukraine are now leaving, as shelling between Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed rebels spikes.
It's very scary indeed, especially after we saw the news that a kindergarten was shelled.
The Russian military also announcing drills of its nuclear forces during the weekend, with President Vladimir Putin personally supervising the practice missile tests. Air raid sirens went off in Donetsk Friday. A separatist leader is calling for people to evacuate, claiming that the Ukrainian government could soon attack. Ukraine has denounced the allegations, which they say Russia is planning to use as a pretext for military action.
And our task is to restrain this abnormal situation in order to avoid a pretext for escalation.
The U.S. says it's still open to diplomacy, though some argue the window for it is closing.
The United States and our allies are prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory from any threat to our collective security as well.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is expected to meet with his Russian counterpart, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, next week. That is, if Russia hasn't invaded Ukraine yet. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, a new tech toy is helping children with sickle cell navigate their journey.
There wasn't a lot being done in the more the social emotional space, and so we feel like this duck is the real difference maker.
How this could be a game changer when it comes to treatment for the disease.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
All right, thanks again for checking in as we take a look at your local forecast. I'm meteorologist Todd Nelson. Well, heading into our weekend, we're going to have some cold conditions Saturday. In fact, a wind advisory has been issued. We'll have more on that in a second. But morning temperature at 16, that's pretty close to average. And we'll have a daytime high of 32, but temperatures will be falling all day tomorrow. So it will feel quite cold into the afternoon. 6:57 is your sunrise, and then 4:44 is our sunset. So windy Saturday. We have a wind advisory in place, as I mentioned. Some of the wind gusts could be approaching 45 miles per hour. With this clipper, there will be snow and maybe even snow squalls, so visibilities could be reduced. And do be advised that if you're going to be traveling tomorrow, if one of these snow squalls moves overhead, visibility could drop significantly and very quickly. But sunnier Sunday and then some rain potential by Tuesday of next week. All right, so there's your wind advisory from the late morning hours until the afternoon of Saturday. Again, winds gusting up close to 35, maybe even 45 miles per hour. Look at this, maybe even close to 50 as we head just south of town. This is a look at the Elmira Corning hourly wind gust potential out of the west and eventually northwest with some 35 to near 40 mile per hour winds. Overnight tonight, the skies will begin to cloud up. We have a clipper system that'll be with us in the morning. And again, some snow squalls will be possible at times. The snow will be coming down heavily. And again, reduced visibilities will be possible. But we're not talking about a lot of snow. Again, maybe a half an inch up to an inch. That'll be about it. But again, if the snow comes down heavily, that could cause some big issues. So 16 degrees overnight tonight, some isolated snow showers in the morning. Winds will be picking up, of course, and then those daytime highs, or at least the morning lows, will be into the teens with temperatures falling into the late afternoon. This is what it'll feel like in the morning for a feels like temp into the single digits and lower teens, and then the hourly feels like temps again through the day tomorrow will actually be down into the single digits by late afternoon and tomorrow evening. So that daytime high again will be topping out into the lower 30s, but that'll be occurring early as we see those temperatures falling. Some light snow showers through the first half of the day. Sunday will be warmer. We're talking daytime high closer to average, which is 37. We'll be into the upper 30s in Corning and Elmira, Ithaca at 37, Binghamton at 36, and our friends to the north, Wayland 39, as well as Bath. Monday, even warmer up to the lower 50s, and that'll be out ahead of that rain chance that will be developing on Tuesday. Still some unsettled weather actually heading in by the early part of next week across the central United States. After that system pushes through, we'll see temps fall again late next week with some scattered snow showers Thursday and Friday.
Police poured into downtown Ottawa today in what truckers fear is a prelude to a crackdown on their nearly 3-week protest that has clogged the streets of Canada's capital city. Alexis McAdams reports from Ottawa.
Another heated day in Canada's capital. This morning, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau defended the use of the Emergencies Act, saying it was necessary to protect Canadians.
The blockades and occupations are illegal. They're a threat to supply chains and the availability of essential goods like food and medicine. And they're a threat to public safety.
Some Conservative members of Parliament are opposed to the Emergencies Act and say it's dividing the country.
We believe the trucks should move or be moved. But, Mr. Speaker, we want to lower the temperature across the country. The Prime Minister clearly wants to raise it.
In the middle of the night, police putting up these fences around Parliament. Also, a busload of law enforcement officers arrived in Ottawa, dropped off to patrol what the government is calling the red zone. They're there under orders to bring that standoff at the Capitol to an end. No major action yet, but the interim Ottawa police chief says his officers are ready to use methods that Canadians are not used to seeing.
We want people to peacefully leave, but I can tell you that if they do not peacefully leave, we have plans, strategies, and tactics to be able to get them to leave.
As protesters fight back against COVID restrictions and mandates for 3 weeks and counting.
I'm prepared to sit on my ass and watch them hit me with pepper spray.
Today, the Canadian government confirmed it has started to freeze the bank accounts of defiant truckers, some trying to make transfers when they found out.
I just tried to make an e-transfer to pay for some minerals for some cattle, and all of a sudden I got absolutely no banking on my RBC account.
Tonight, there are barriers and also checkpoints set up across the capital city, but we've watched people walk right by police with gas cans in their hands. Also, we can confirm at least one of the members of the Freedom Convoy was arrested tonight.
The Justice Department goes after supply chain disruption exploitation, including those who priced fix for gain. The DOJ and the FBI will begin investigating companies and individuals that are colluding to illegally set prices, wages, or rig bids during supply chain shortages. The Antitrust Division will prioritize investigations seeking to uncover illicit profit. The FBI says the pandemic has created conditions for price fixing or overcharging. People can report suspected behavior to the Antitrust Division's Citizen Complaint Division or go online at justice.gov. A new robot is freeing up hands, giving people the independence needed to walk or shop on their own with nothing to carry or weigh them down. Kevin Cork has more on the invention intended to get people moving.
Want to make grocery shopping easier? Well, you're not alone.
It would be great to have something to carry your shop and have your hands free, particularly if it's a bad day and you're dealing with an umbrella and your phone and your purse and things, and somewhere to store it safely.
A new robot is rolling in to help. The Jita is making its way to supermarkets and streets, offering senior citizens an opportunity to walk hands-free.
Fuse is one of the most advanced technology, but its purpose is just to basically help you to walk more, help walk free from goods, because you can carry goods inside Jita.
The Jita is not your typical scooter. It uses recognition technology to pair and follow a person, carrying items in its locked storage compartment or even working as a seat when needed. Creators hope the Jita will give people the independence to walk more.
One good rule of longevity, of living healthier and longer life, is just to walk. Why don't empower ourselves to walk more? And that's what we think it's very interesting as a different approach to leverage the most innovative technology, machine learning and robots, to allow people to walk more.
And although it seems like a glimpse into the not-too-distant future, believe it or not, Jita's on the market right now, selling for about $3,000. I'm Kevin Cork.
A new tech toy is helping children with sickle cell disease manage their fear of pain by calming, entertaining, and soothing them. William Lajeunesse has more from Los Angeles.
Sickle cell disease is a painful and often deadly blood disorder that affects millions around the world. Here in the U.S., 1 out of every 365 African Americans are born with it. But a new high-tech solution to help comfort those kids could be a game changer.
There wasn't a lot being done in the more the social emotional space, and so we feel like this duck is the real difference maker.
Aflac is best known as the insurance company with the big fluffy duck, but it also sponsors America's largest sickle cell program. And now it's developed a tech toy specifically designed to help kids live with the symptoms. It's called My Special Aflac Duck, an interactive friend that reminds children with sickle cell to hydrate constantly. It also has an IV port for medications, a customizable blanket, and a set of emotion buttons that help kids tell doctors and nurses how they're feeling. So far, reaction overwhelmingly positive, with some families saying the focus on sickle cell treatment is long overdue.
One of the mothers of one of the families that we interviewed, she definitely used those words, that she felt seen and she felt appreciative.
There's also a virtual component that offers activities designed to distract kids during treatment or in a pain crisis. It's now being distributed free, and if all goes well, we'll see more toys like this one in the near future.
Our future plans are to continue to expand our reach in the area of creating awareness, education, and funding for sickle cell.
With blood donations down since the start of the pandemic, the American Red Cross is now holding a number of sickle cell-focused blood drives to encourage more African Americans to donate. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse.
A federal agency is calling for an investigation of 2 communications providers over protecting customers from robocalls. The Federal Communications Commission says voice service providers Bandwidth Inc. and Vonage Holding aren't doing enough to protect customers from spoofed robocalls and have been referred for further investigation. Standards known as STIR/SHAKEN were set up in 2021 to verify caller ID. Vonage has not commented. Bandwidth says it still has some older legacy equipment that prevents standards use and is working to move voice traffic off the equipment. Dogs are getting the opportunity to live in houses that are on the cutting edge of design. Ty Brennan reports.
From cantilevered ceilings to plush furnishings, these are some of the plushest dog houses you'll ever see.
This year we have 12 local teams of designers and architects that have partnered together to create unique dog houses that will be up for bid the night of the event.
These dog houses will be auctioned off next Friday as part of the 8th annual Design for Dogs event in partnership with Facings of America. All the money raised will go help the Arizona Animal Welfare League.
our rural rescue efforts, our adoptions, our low-cost community clinic, and vaccine clinics.
This father and son team from KQ Architects figure they spent 72 hours designing and building their doghouse.
We love their mission, what they do, and we love the opportunity to design and build a house.
They said all the hard work is worth it, knowing it'll make a difference in a pet's life.
It's great to have something that you actually have built, and just knowing that it's going to help, a bunch of animals out there that really need the help.
In Scottsdale, Ty Brennan.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Victoria's Secret hires its first model with Down syndrome. 24-year-old Sophia Hirao confirmed the milestone on Instagram Thursday. She captioned her campaign photo, quote, "I dreamed of it, I worked on it, and today it is a dream come true." The Puerto Rican model is part of the lingerie brand's Love Cloud collection with 17 other women from different backgrounds. Victoria's Secret has long been criticized for its lack of diversity and inclusion of different body types. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.